Hey, hi everyone, welcome back to Coordinators. And this time we have come up with a new playlist which is completely conceptual basis, okay. And it will deal with authentication and authorization, which is the fundamental of any software engineer, or you can say anyone who is into tech. Now, what you will learn in this playlist. So basically in this I will do no code, there will be no code, no framework, just how the real system works, okay. The idea, the business idea, how the logics are there, okay, what exactly you are building, okay, what is the idea behind building all those stuff. So we will deal with that, because the more senior you become you will more focused on the ideas rather than on like syntax problem and all those stuff. So first, once we are done with all this conceptual basics, and then we'll start with the code part later on. But in this playlist, it is completely on theory based. Okay. Now, like basically, what is authentication and authorization? Okay. I have seen many developers, even I myself have like failed very like in my early ages. I have failed a lot in understanding this topic. Okay. But like after time passes and everything, I get to know and like want to share the details and crux of this authentication and authorization. Okay. So most security bugs in real world systems don't happen because of hackers. They must because developers confuses authentication and authorization. That's why I say it's a very important topic to understand. And if you mix these two up even once, your system is already broken. In the next few minutes, I will explain the difference so clearly that you will never confuse them again. So, every login system, every admin panel, every paid feature in an app depends on these two questions, which is who are you and what are you allowed to do? So, if your system answers the first question correctly, but the second question is incorrectly, congratulations, you have built a security risk, which is like can be like malfunction and like can be hacked or whatever, like have some security issue. Now I'll discuss on what is authentication. Okay, so authentication is about identity. It answers only one question: are you really who you claim to be? Or in simple terms, who is making this request? Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, Authent- authentication does not grant access; it only proves the identity. Okay, so for example, like how you see like the authentication works. Okay, so like these are some so for example on authentication like user so for example there are for authentication the examples are it can be username and password, OTP, fingerprint, face IDs, login with Google. All these do the same thing, they prove identity. Authentication does not decide what you can do. Remember one thing, authentication does not decide what you can do. Authentication just provides you the entry. Okay, and entry as in this is the person who he or she is claiming to be. That's all. Now coming to authorization. So authorization is like basically what can you do. Authorization starts after authentication. Okay, authorization comes after authentication. It answers a completely different question. Now that is, I know who you are. What are you allowed to access? This is the question. Okay. Now the system knows that okay, Ram logged in. I know Ram logged in. But now what are the accesses given to Ram? That is called authorization. What are your authorities, right? So for example, can you view this page? Can you edit this data? Can you delete this record? Can you access admin features? These are like what gives you privilege, gives you permissions. Okay. So authorization is about permission, not identity. Okay. Authentication is about identity. Authorization is about the permissions. Got it? So now what I'll do, I'll give you like if you have understood till now, just good. Okay. This is exactly what authorization on authentication means. But if not, I'll have a like a real world example to like understand you with an airport system how authentication and authorization work. Okay. As I said, authorization is about permissions, not identity. So let's take airplane, okay? So airplane analogy of authentication and authorization. Scenario one, entering the airport building. Okay, so you entered the airport building or the airport premises. Okay, what happens? You walk into the airport, no one checks your ticket, right? So basically, you just came out of your cab and you started entering the airport premises. Okay, at this time, no one asks your like tickets or whatever you say. Okay, so this is like kind of public. Okay, so that's what I say. This is not authentication, neither authorization. It's a public access. So in tech world, how or in a website terminologies, how it will be like, it's like opening a website homepage. Okay, no need of login till now. Now like the basic homepage basically, right? Now the scenario two. Okay, security checks. This is the most important. So now the security asks for like, please show me your ID, right? And then he cross checks your identity card with like who the person, you try to match the face, okay, if is it matching or not, and then giving you the permission, right? Like you have the Aadhaar card or the passport, and then he confirms your face with looking at yourself, right? That okay, this is the person who is like there in the ID card, right? So this is called authentication. So in tech will basically, when this is what you come up with, you come up with your username and password, and you say, okay, this is my username and password. Give me the permissions. Sorry, give me the entry. So this is entry level. Same with OTPs or biometric logins, right? So authentication is equal to like proving who you are with the database, correct? Now scenario two. Oh, sorry, scenario three. Boarding pass check. Okay, this is a gate level. So now what you are in, you have entered into the premises or like into the airport after doing your check-ins. Now at this point you have the tickets or something, right? So basically the airline staff checks your boarding pass, flight number, seat number, and then they decide, can you enter this gate, or like, sir, go to gate number 19. From there you will get your flight or like boarding pass or those stuff, right? Is this the correct flight? Is this the correct time for you to get in the flight? All those stuff, right? The permissions. So this is the authorization. In technologies like role checks, admin or user, read or write. Like if I logged in as an admin, then I have the permissions to make some delete operation. I have the permissions to look other users what you can say, logs. And if I am a user, I just have an access to read. Let's suppose you have provided me an read access to some of the data, right? Like just query the user table, query the customer table. I just can do a select. I cannot update the query. So that's the permission, right? So authorization is all about what you are allowed to access. Now, scenario four, inside the plane. Okay. So like you are inside the plane right now. Okay, let's suppose you have a business class. Okay, and the crew checks, okay, your seat number. So there are two types of classes now here, like, right, economy class and business class, and you have a business class ticket, right? So in economy side you are not allowed, but in business you are allowed, right? So that's why this is again an authorization part. So you have seen in multiple like free users or paid users, like these plans. So this is again an authorization part. Okay, now again, let's suppose you have a wrong passenger but the right ticket, which means that in simple terms, like you find your boarding pass but the ticket is valid but your identity is wrong. Let's suppose you have all the right permissions, okay, like the ticket is valid, but you are not the person who you're claiming to be, right? So in that case, remember, in that case, entry is denied. Authentication failed, not the authorization. Even though, okay, you have the right, uh, what you can say, credentials and all those stuff, but you're not allowed, right? So in that case, authentication failed because you are not the person who you claim to be. So without identity, also access is denied, right? Even though you have a correct tickets. Got it? Let's suppose you entered the airplane, you have the identity, you entered the plane. You went on the board, okay, you boarded the plane, and at the time, ticket is with different name. Ticket is valid, but the ticket belongs to some other person. You are also valid with your ID, identity card, but at that permission, you are at that permission level, you are not the person who you're supposed to be. In that case, again, access will be denied, right? Now the another scenario is like the right person, no ticket. So basically, you are who you claim to be, but You don't have this one, like, uh, but you forget this boarding pass, right? The tickets or anything. So in that case, authentication passed, authorization failed. Okay. So one more thing, being authenticated is not equals to authorized, right? I hope you understand this word. Authentication is all about your identity, and authorization is all about your permission, right? I hope you understand. So just take these two lines. Authentication answers who you are, and authorization answers what you can do. That's all. I hope you have understood the difference between authorization and authentication on conceptual level with this airplane analogy. If you have any confusions, do post in the comment section and give a thumbs up to this video if you liked it. Thanks.